Thank you very much. So we will now give the floor to George of Synthesa that will do a show how of the Prime DSS tool. Thank you.
Hello, good morning, everybody. I'm George from Synthesa. I am the developer for the Prime DSS tools, and I will be demonstrating the implementation of the tools that we have. I will just ask you to hang on for a second while I screen. I think you can see everything now. Should be coming up for you in a second.
It has. Thank you.
All right, fantastic. So as usual, we start at the same point for all the tools, which is the Dss Framework. As you know, our project consists of two main tools, two frameworks that compose the tools, and those frameworks are supposed to work with each other to help users get more information and support on the aquaculture and fisheries industry. So one of the tools is the decision support, which is the DSS you're seeing the screen, and the other one is the wiki, which accompanies that, providing textual support and information on how to use the tool and the research behind the tools. If you don't have an account, it's easy to register. As you know, you can just come here and click register, complete the information, click submit, and you should receive your login and be able to come to the homepage and enter information, and you should be able to access the tools straight away. Remember, this is an alpha system, so we're still improving it. When you log in, you're going to be redirected to the homepage where you can have a quick access to the wiki and also to the project website, and you have quick access to all of the tools. So the VCA is an early alpha implementation of the described information by Dimitar, John, and Francis. So we are working on adding more data and more functionality to the tools, but you already have the access to this early stage where you can try the tools and get some information on different value chains. So I'm going to start by the report generator. Remember that for the value chain tool, as the other ones, you have a quick link at the home page of the tool that redirects you to the wiki page for the tool, where you're going to have more information about the tool itself. So the value chain is then subdivided in 4 modules, and the first one is the report generator, which I'll demonstrate. And as Dimitar explained, basically the idea is to allow the users to create custom detailed reports on different value chains for the different species in the research. At the moment, the tool works with scraping data from the report generated by the University of Stirling and the team that was working on the VCA. But the idea is, in the future, we're going to expand this to data mine information from other sources, and like the World Economics Forum and other different sources that provide good information about value chains, and provide this information in this tool as well for users to select. So the idea is that the user can select a species, and he will have a menu of all the information that is available by about the value chain for this species. So, for example, cod, we can do a quick introduction about the value chain, and then we have about information, consolidation in the sector. So I'm going to get a summary of that, and then we have information about fishery management systems in Norway, Iceland, and Newfoundland. So I'm going to select a couple of information here, and I'm going to do the same for a couple of other sections. And then after I'm satisfied with the content that I want for cod, I can add this section to my report, and I can continue adding sections. Maybe I want to check and compare this with the Pangasius industry, so I want to also get some information on this for my analysis, so I can add this. And maybe I want to add yet another species and have some information on that as well. And after I add my informations, I can reorganize them as much as I want. And maybe I want the card on the top, or I want gases on the top. So I can remove or edit my sections and add more, or maybe remove everything at all. So once the user is satisfied with the information that he's selecting for his report, he can click the Generate Report button, and he will be able to go through each of the pages in the report, and he can get some custom information, and maybe he wants to quickly jump into the gas use and check the information there. And the idea, of course, is that the tool starts scraping more data and making this available for the users in the report generator. So this is the first module of the tool. The idea is to give users advanced insights about the industry through different collected and mined information. And in the future, we want to expand the sources of the tool. So the more users they use and the more information that we acquire, the more complete will be the reports that you can use. The second one is the industry dynamics. The second module is the industry dynamics graph. And this is, as Miller explained, a graph talking about the evolution of the industry and how this affects the value chain as well. So we have two graphs. The first one is industry structure that gives you a static visualization of the structure of the industry and how this changes through time. So we can see that we have here in the x-axis the time as passing, and quick legends of all the countries that we have, a quick explanation about each of the parameters that we have for you to choose. And then the user can choose between the CR4 percentage, or this is, of course, the industry concentration, the biggest four, and then you have a quick explanation here about the CR4. And you can change this as for industry share in global output as well. And you can see how, for example, the global one, which is 100%, and how all the countries relates to that in different years for different species. The second graph is the industry evolution, which is an animated graph that talks about the maturity, decline, and growth of the companies or the industry in different countries. And the idea is that you can slide the different years and the slider at the top, and you're gonna see how each country performs. And as Dimitar demonstrated, and we're going to be implementing this in this tool in the future as well. We have in this graph showing how the maturity, growth, and decline of each of those countries in the industry is happening. So you can see that in this quadrant here, we have countries that are in growth, and as they move towards this quadrant, they are growing to maturity. And then if they're moving below the x-axis, they will be into decline. And then you have this cycle here, and you can accompany how the countries perform and how it's they move through time, and how the industries relate to that and respond to that idea. So this is the to offer users a little bit of insights on how the industry is evolving and how rates are changing. And the idea, of course, is that we're going to add more data and more options for the users to filter by species and by country in the future, and complete all the information that we have in the research. Now I'm going to move to the GSI, to the maps, the Global Salmon Initiative maps, or the Global Aquaculture Standards map, as we are now calling. And you can click more to click here to find more information, of course, about the web, the maps, and it's going to redirect you to the deliverable that talks about that. You can access the full report and have more information about the maps there, as Francis just described in his research. And the map is also in early stages, of course, but for now you can visualize all the countries that we have selected and that we have mapped, and you can have information about the certification company and its geographical location. As it is a Google Maps, you can, do everything that you would normally do with a Google Maps. We're also working on making this a little bit more user-friendly so the user can choose to filter by different initiatives and select different farm processors in the maps as well. And finally, the gross margin calculator. This John already quickly demonstrated. Of course, this is the one that we are in still developing further. We need to improve the logic a little bit, but the idea, as John described, is that you are going to come here, you're going to input the weight of your catches and landings, and for now it's working with COD, and you're going to be able to, of course, input costs and input your margin, and you're going to be able to calculate the gross margin for each of the steps. In the future, we want to allow the user also to select which steps, like for example, the user is not interested in those two first steps, so he can remove this from the calculation. And we also want to be able to allow the user to have more detailed processing steps, or maybe a better way to allow input this information. And the idea here is that the user will be quickly able to input some values, the values that are specific to his company, and in a very easy and graphical way, get a quick visualization of the possible results and the possible gross margin that he's able to get from his products. And we want to, of course, also extend this to other tools. And once our data scraping and data mining is implemented for this tool as well, we want to be able to access different sites of data and try to extract informations like costs and value added for different countries in the industry as well, to help the user get an idea of costs in different industries as well. So this is the value chain analyzer.